Peace and blessings, light and love. It's your girl, RayeQueen, and today we are talking about autoimmune imbalances, and specifically we're talking about lupus. As you all know, if I see something come across my desk several times, I take that as a message from the Most High that I'm supposed to do something with it. And so lupus, which has been problematic in communities of color for quite some time now, needs to be addressed. I need to address it and share my information with you on how you can treat it, reverse it. There have been countless numbers of documented cases of reversals of many autoimmune imbalances, and you can be one of those people. It might require lifestyle adjustment, diet adjustment. I mean, it really is that simple. As if you give up some certain foods that have a lot of chemicals in it, move a little bit more. I mean, it really is so simple, but the problem is we've become addicted to a lot of the things that we have in our lives, which makes it a little more difficult. But we're going to work with you nonetheless, and we're going to reverse your lupus. So, some interesting information is that 1 in 5 people have an autoimmune disease or imbalance. I use the word imbalance instead of disease because the word disease a lot of times promotes a stressful reaction, right? And stress and healing cannot occupy the same space. You have to remove the stressors from your life in order for your body to regenerate itself. So we're going to get rid of the word disease. I don't care what, who, where told you. You have an imbalance in your body, and we are going to correct those imbalances so that you can be healthy, happy, and whole again. Okay? 90% of people diagnosed with lupus are women. And those diagnoses tend to happen between the ages of 15 and 44 years old. So if you're in that age bracket, you're at a higher risk. And if you've had multiple miscarriages, if you've had stillbirths, if you've had multiple abortions, you are at a higher risk of developing lupus. In addition to that, lupus is most often a combination of genetics and the environment, right? A combination. And you won't hear me say that often because I know that in the Western world, we place too much emphasis on genetics. Genetics tend to limit themselves to a very small portion of who we are and who we become, right? The color of your eyes, the texture of your hair, the color of your skin, those are heavily genetic reliable. But epigenetics is something different. And then, of course, the environment. And I'm going to talk about genetics versus epigenetics in just a minute. But first, let's talk about some of the most common symptoms of lupus. Now, you might have some of these symptoms without having lupus because some of them are very general. But if you tend to have all of these, most of these on the list, then you might want to consider going on a healing regimen to reverse it. So if you have pain or swelling in your joints or in your muscles, if you get fevers with an unknown cause, just get a fever out of nowhere. If you have mouth ulcers, if you are feeling very tired, if you have swelling in your legs or swelling around your eyes, if you are sensitive to the sun, if you have swollen glands, if you have hair loss. I don't mean like just the hair that comes out in your comb every day. That is natural shedding. I'm talking about just globs of hair coming out when you comb it. That's problematic. And then chest pain. If you take a really deep breath and you have pain in your chest, that is one of the telltale signs of having lupus. Okay, there are some other small ones, but these are the most commonly reported symptoms. So what is an autoimmune imbalance? I mentioned earlier genetic versus genetic expression, right? So your genetics are the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, your skin, the texture of your hair, perhaps your height, things of that sort. But genetic expression is something different. Genetic expression is how your genes will express themselves. We have 100 million genes, but we have 150 billion factors that will affect how your genes express themselves, right? So just because you come from a long line of people who have cancer or lupus or diabetes doesn't mean you will have that. It means if you do the things that will make those genes express themselves, then you will indeed be diagnosed with those similar conditions. But you don't have to do those same things. In fact, a lot of the genetic quote unquote diseases are just handed down traditions, right? We're doing the same things that our parents did and the same thing that their parents did that gave them these diseases. So you do not be afraid if you have the gene in your family for lupus, because what you do to express that gene is more powerful than the gene itself. Okay. So when we talk about an autoimmune imbalance or lupus, we're talking about an interruption of communication within the body, right? So we got all these different systems in our body, and they have to talk to each other so they each know what to do, what's happening, what needs to be done, that type of thing. And the two major systems are electrical and chemical. Our electrical system houses the nervous system, right? So that houses the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So it determines stress when we're going to fight or flight. You know, when those women get all amazing amounts of strength to lift up a car off their babies, that is a fight or flight response. It also regulates sleep and how our bodies heal themselves while they're asleep, how we restore our systems while we're sleeping. That's all electrical, right? And there's some foods that we can eat that are electrical in nature that will help to strengthen our electrical systems. And then we have the chemical system, right? The chemical system houses our hormones. Hormones are messengers, right? In order for our nervous system to act, it has to receive the message from the chemical system, from our hormones. When you have an autoimmune imbalance, that means the message is not getting from the chemical system to the nervous system. There's some type of a disruption. The communication is disrupted. It's like when we were little, we played telephone. You know, you pass the secret along around 10 people. By the time it gets to the 10th person, it's all messed up. That's the same thing that happens in our bodies. The message is not getting all the way through where it needs to get to. And that causes inflammation in our bodies. Now, inflammation is not a disease. Inflammation actually is a good thing because it is our body's natural response to damaged tissue. And it's trying to heal itself. It's trying to repair itself. And that's why inflammation occurs, right? Inflammation is a necessary process for our bodies to heal. The problem is we live in a society now where we rather feel better than be better, right? I tell people all the time when they take cough medicine or, headache medicine, and they instantly feel better, but that doesn't mean that they are better, because whatever toxin or imbalance was in their body is still there because they haven't addressed that. And then years down the line, all of those stored imbalances manifest themselves as a very serious disease. Excuse me, like lupus, like cancer, like diabetes, yada, yada, yada. It's bananas. So there are some things that disrupt the communication, right? And we call those endocrine disruptors. First of all, they trigger an inflammatory response, which is good, but the overload of these endocrine disruptors are bad because they attach themselves to the cells, and now the body can't communicate, right? And we can find these endocrine disruptors in food, in personal care products, birth control, pharmaceuticals, plastics, cosmetics, vaccinations, pesticides. I mean, they are everywhere and in everything, right? The good news is that companies are starting to respond to our demand for healthier products, and they're starting to remove a lot of those ingredients from the foods, from the personal care products, so that we can rest, we can be more comfortable when we consume these things. So in case you need some medical or scientific proof, I have inserted this slide because I love reading medical journals. in scientific journals, because I talk a lot with doctors who might not even know some of this information. So I'll leave this up for a second and I'll read it to you just so you can have it for yourself. In the Journal of Autoimmunity, they reported a large series of serious autoimmune conditions has been reported following the HPV shot. So if you've gotten an HPV vaccination, hepatitis B vaccination, there's a chance you could develop an autoimmune condition. And that was published in the Journal of Autoimmunity. And another interesting thing about the HPV is that the label, y'all have to start reading. Y'all got to start everything you pick up that you intend to put on your body or in your body. Please read the label. Just take 3 minutes and read the label. That's why you went to school. Okay, but anyway, the actual label on the HPV bottle says that it can actually cause lupus and other autoimmune disorders. Can actually cause lupus and other autoimmune disorders. That's crazy. So anyway, another article in the Journal of Autoimmunity says, even though the data regarding the relation between vaccination and autoimmune disease is conflicting, it seems that some autoimmune phenomena are directly related to immunization. Directly related. Journal of Autoimmunity. And then the Journal of Clinical and Experimental Rheumatology reports 72 doses of 17 different vaccines before the age of 18 can cause systemic inflammation. And what is inflammation? It causes autoimmune diseases. So if you need to write these down to take to your doctor to discuss, please feel free. Pause the video if you need to. So now we have an idea of how autoimmune diseases happen. The communication system in the body is disrupted, right? And we have these phospholipids, I didn't talk about that attach to the cells that prevent the messengers from getting across, which results in inflammation, which results in the body producing these antibodies to attack something that's not really there, right? And so what do we do to fight it, prevent it, reverse it? Wherever you are on your healing journey, this is the stuff you can do. You should, first of all, use filtered water. I'm a big advocate for alkaline water, but spring water is another good one. Distilled water, although a lot of the junk is taken out, some of the good stuff is taken out as well. So I don't recommend distilled water often. I would first recommend alkaline, then spring water. Okay. Remove any mercury fillings that you have in your mouth that you got for your cavities back in the day. Have those removed and replace it with something else. Fluoride-free toothpaste is a big one. You can buy this at Walmart nowadays. Most grocery stores have it. But the fluoride mimics the thyroid, and so it causes problems. So you want to use fluoride-free toothpaste because, like I said, it alters the function of the thyroid and it alters the function of the parathyroid, the adrenal glands, the pituitary gland, the pineal gland. Simple things you can do. And it doesn't cost maybe but 50 cents more, 75 cents more to use fluoride-free toothpaste. And like I tell people all the time who complain about the prices of the healthier options is it's cheaper than chemo, it's cheaper than insulin, it's cheaper than beta blockers, it's cheaper than diuretic. It's still cheaper than a lot of the medications you might find yourself on. And your health is worth it. So spend the extra dollar and buy fluoride-free toothpaste. And that will help to repair your autoimmunity disease or imbalance. Avoid grains. That means no processed sugars. Avoid processed foods. That's anything that comes prepackaged, pretty much. Like I said, there are some that are starting to emerge that aren't processed, but, for the most part, all packaged food has processed ingredients in it, okay? Avoid toxic meat. If you're going to be a meat eater, you need to be an organic meat eater because the inorganic meats have pesticides, hormones, all kinds of stuff that act as endocrine disruptors that will contribute to your autoimmunity. Okay? Avoid BPA, that's bisphenol A. That's the ingredient that is found in plastic. So when you're buying your bottled waters, try to find BPA-free plastics. A lot of them now say it on the bottles. Avoid BPA Tupperware. And a lot of the Tupperware will now also say it on the package that it's BPA free. The BPA is a chemical that in extreme temperatures, extreme heat, or extreme cold will leak out. And that goes into your body and acts as an endocrine disruptor and contributes to your autoimmunity. Now, here's a little trick. If you can't afford to buy the BPA-free Tupperware, buy the cheap stuff, but line it with wax paper or freezer paper. So easy fix. You can get wax paper or freezer paper at the Dollar Tree. Try that. Avoid pesticides. Like, again, there are a lot of places, but most products will now say pesticide free on it. And avoid the fluoride. I talked about that. You want to start cooking with coconut oil. Coconut oil is a medium chain triglyceride, which means it's easier to digest than the long chain triglycerides. Excuse me. I can't speak today. Okay. So, and then you want to do this. Now, I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm going to say it. If you actually start doing the things that will increase your immune system, you can get away with doing some of that other stuff, right? But you have to do more good things than bad things. So some of the good things you need to do is to increase the amount of omega-3s you have in your diet, because the omega-3, omega-6 ratio needs to have a good balance. And unfortunately, the foods we have on the market today generally don't. So omega-3 rich foods include things like papayas, Brussels sprouts, use olive oil. Oh, and by the way, your coconut oil needs to be stored in the refrigerator. I've done so many home visits and the coconut oil is in the pantry. Coconut oil does go rancid, so keep it in the refrigerator. Olive oil, on the other hand, does not go rancid, and you can keep that in your pantry. Okay? So other omega-3 foods: flax seeds, salmon, spinach, chia seeds, sardines, mackerel. Those are all very good omega-3s you should eat every day. And it really is so simple as eating the right foods that can help to prevent and treat and reverse disease. Just trust me on this and start adding these foods to your diets. Okay? Increase the amount of antioxidants. Goji berries is a very good source of antioxidants, and they're just these little things. You can buy them at most stores now and just snack on them throughout the day. They're really good. Wild blueberries is another good source of antioxidants. Dark chocolate, excellent source of antioxidants. Try adding these things, elderberries, incorporating those things into your everyday diet, And then take a vitamin E supplement and a vitamin D supplement. However, the only true source of vitamin D is sunshine. You need to get outside and soak up some sun rays every single day. 15 minutes of sunshine every day will go a long way. Okay? And if that's difficult for you to do, particularly in the winter months, or if you're in a part of the country where you don't get a lot of sunshine, consider taking a vitamin D supplement. Iodine. The whole world was so scared of iodine for a long time, but iodine is very good for you. You want to incorporate an iodine supplement into your diet, particularly if you're suffering from an autoimmune disorder or imbalance. Now, in the United States, they recommend taking 150 micrograms daily. That's a little bit on the low side, if you ask me. In other countries like Japan, they recommend taking 2,000 to 3,000 micrograms a day, which is just 2 to 3 milligrams. So if you go to your local store, get an iodine supplement, put a couple of drops in some water, and go on about your day. I'm telling you, it will work wonders for autoimmune imbalances. Okay? So listen, I know some of this sounds too simple to be true, but it really does work. You just have to trust your body and the natural healing ability of your body. Now, let's talk about some of the metaphysical causes of lupus, because I know that our emotions and our minds have the biggest impact on our health, right? I went to school and I got my degree in my doctorate degree in holistic health, and very little of that talked about the emotional aspect. And so then I went back to school and I got my doctorate in metaphysics. And this is, if you're going to like ration out how much of each of these things you're going to do, I want you to focus 50% on the metaphysical causes and the other 50% on food, supplementation, vitamins, herbs, all that type of thing. Okay. Oh, I didn't talk about herbs. I'll get back to that. Okay, so some of the metaphysical causes of lupus include things like if you often feel like you're overshadowed, like you kind of push to the background a lot, or if you tend to not speak up for yourself or stick up for yourself, or if when you do speak up for yourself, you become very vicious and then you get upset with yourself for allowing yourself to get so mad, right? Or if you have a difficulty when you are expressing yourself, if you feel like you're often silenced, like you don't have the opportunity to express yourself, or if when you do express yourself, you feel like you're being judged for the things that you say, or if something very traumatic to you happened to you emotionally at a very young age in life, these are the things that often manifest itself in the form of lupus and other autoimmune imbalances later in life. If this sounds like you and you have lupus, then I want to encourage you to focus on the emotional aspect, right? Because the most astounding data has come from people who address the emotional causes of their disease. And the most successes come from the reversal of those emotions, right? So if any of those things sounds like you and you suffer from lupus, I want you to work on your communication. I want you to find your voice. And the way you can do that is through throat chakra work, right? I mean, you need to do all of your chakra work, but don't let the word chakra throw you. I know many people who are new to this are kind of afraid of the word chakra because it seems to be a little too hocus pocus for some people, but it really is just energy. Chakra is a word for energy. So I want you to find a way to do some throat chakra work. There's a school called My Lifelong Learning Academy. I will attach that in the description box so you can go visit that. It's an online short course school, and it will very quickly teach you about all of the chakras, but I want you to focus on your throat chakra work. If you don't want to take the class, just do some research on your own and really focus on your throat chakra. If you do the work around the energy of your throat chakra, you will find yourself slowly getting better and slowly reversing the metaphysical causes of lupus. Excuse me. So, I am RayeQueen. The only way to restore your health is to release, remove, rebuild, and restore. Whatever you have in your body, you first need to release it. That can be emotions when it comes to lupus, and that can be the endocrine disruptors in this case. And then remove those things, right? You need to do a full body cleanse so that they get out of your body. Rebuild your body by doing those things I mentioned, adding the omega-3s and the antioxidants and addressing the emotions that need to be there. And then your health will be restored. There is no cure for any disease, but you can restore your health, right? So that you no longer suffer from that disease anymore. Lastly, I want to say, remember to take your medication. Too many people who are on medication decide they're going to stop, and that's a no-no. You cannot, once you've started taking medication, just stop. It can be detrimental. And more importantly, sick people need drugs. If you are sick, you need the drug. My goal is to restore your health so that you no longer need the drugs. Now, last but not least, I cannot speak today. You need to eat proudly, laugh loudly, drink life, and think right. And don't forget to move. Get up, dance, walk, run, whatever you need to do. You need to get your body moving, because a body at rest will create a whole bunch of problems that you don't want. Okay? You can find me at RayeQueen.com. And as always, remember that laughter should be the only thing that hurts.